Okay, it looks like we have all the boxes checked here, live on Facebook, hopefully recording all the good things. So I'm going to assume all the good things. So, hi, everybody. This is Ryan Lanier. I'm with Organizing for Good. I'm in Austin, Texas, bringing you one of my favorite moments of my whole week where I reach out to an area nonprofit and try to give them a shout out and let everyone know how they've been managing through the pandemic, all the amazing things they're doing, and how we can literally help to lift them up in doing their hard work. And I'm so excited today to be returning to one of my favorites, Any Baby Can. And today we have Cora Cramer, who is the parent educator, coming to us, going to tell us all about the Healthy and Fair Start program that they have been working on. So welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I'm very excited to have you. So what I'd love to do is just jump right in, and I want you to tell me all about Any Baby Can, who and how you serve.
Okay. Well, Any Baby Can is a great organization that has so many programs. We have programs that, and really they all support parents and strengthen families, but we have ones that do home visiting, or right now virtual visiting. We have ones that help families if they have a child with special needs, like if they're maybe having hearing issues or cancer, things like that, big issues, or even just early childhood intervention services. And we also have parenting classes, just a whole host of things that can help support families in the area. And so, if you have a young kiddo, definitely checking out our website and seeing what's available. Each program kind of has a little bit different requirements, age requirements, and who can participate when. But on the website, it explains all of those things. And I am in the Healthy and Fair Start program, which is one of the great programs we offer. We have always called it our home visiting program, but again, since the pandemic started, it's been virtual, and it's been exciting to have a new chapter, doing it a little differently.
That's amazing. We've all been evolving, right?
Yes.
We're done with that word pivot. We're now evolving. So
yes, that is true.
That is fantastic to hear. I think supporting families is probably one of the most important jobs around there, because that is a ripple effect. And
it supports the whole community by supporting families.
No question. So let's just, go. I want to barrel on here because we have a little show and tell today. So if you are watching, you're in good hands today. We're going to be doing something that will involve you actually using your eyes today. So let's go back a year and a quarter now. How did COVID change things for you, and what lessons did you learn from that you've managed to keep until today?
Well, it really changed pretty much overnight. 1 week we were doing our home visits.
March 12th.
yeah. Overnight it changed, and I was doing home visits, and then all of a sudden it's like, wait, how are we going to still reach our families? And so if learning about the things like Zoom and telehealth and all those things virtually overnight, a lot of scramble, but we all did it, and we've found that it works really, really well to stay connected with families. Families have expressed just how important it's been to feel like there's still someone out there that can support them, can answer questions, just to listen sometimes, just to be that support there. And so, as far as lessons learned, we've found that some families actually prefer doing virtual visits. Sometimes it's easier to fit into the schedule, rather than having to make sure you're home. Sometimes I might meet a family and they're at grandma's house, but we're doing our visit, or maybe they're at the park and we're doing our visit. So it can kind of fit into each family's life the way it needs to.
Mm-hmm.
There are some challenges. I don't get to hug all the little kids. I miss
Right.
that interaction, but I get to see them and see how they're growing. And, we have just found ways to make it work. And we found that we also have had really good outcomes. Families are setting goals or meeting goals on a regular basis. And so we haven't seen like, oh, we've done virtual visits, but it's not working. We found it is working. It's really helping families.
Thank goodness, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we don't even want to think about if it had not been impactful. We all know the things that we've learned. Can you expand a little bit more on, kind of some things that you're going to continue, even though we can be, or you're just like, or is it a contingency plan at this point? Because, things are still question marks.
We're still figuring some of that out, but we don't see virtual visiting going away. Ironically, there was a pilot program for our program to try virtual visits that started exactly at the same time as we all went to virtual visits, because we had to. And so, it is the future, is, being able to connect with families in these other new creative ways that maybe fit into their life better. And so we are going to still have virtual visits, but, for some families that may be blended, where some of our visits are in person and some of them are virtual, or things like, sometimes even though my kiddos that I work with are younger, maybe there was an older sibling who's home sick for the day. Well, before, if there was someone who was sick, I couldn't do that visit in person. But if the kid's just in the bedroom watching TV because they don't feel well, I can still virtually, visit with them. So, that could be a backup plan for, hey, you can't come over today, but let's just meet online. So, that virtual connection is going to be here and moving forward. So rather than just piloting it, we've already proven it is very effective. And for some families, they do prefer the in-person. So, we're not going to just be staying virtual. We're going to have a blended, especially as it's safe to do so. But it opens up a whole new opportunity to make it work for families the best it can.
100%, 100%. Having a variety of offerings, because every family has different needs, and so you can meet them at different times that way. I love that.
Yeah.
If you're watching,
it also makes it easier for travel, because Austin traffic's terrible. So
I know, right? So much. I mean, that's what, as a volunteer or doing meetings and stuff, I mean, I'm laughing at how much time we spent in our cars going to things. Yeah. And now, 5 minutes before, you just roll in front of your computer, pants optional, and just be ready. It really does make a lot more accessible. So you talked to me about maybe your dogs were going to make noise. I have a cat whose heart is broken for some reason in another room. So don't be alarmed. She's fine. Okay. So in working with families, I think this is actually a super great time for you to share sort of like exactly an activity that you would provide to a family. And I'm so excited. So this is our first show and tell on the nonprofit Shoutout interview. So please share this activity with us.
So I'm going to share the activity, but let me just tell you a little bit more of just about the Healthy and Fair Start program, because I told you about Any Baby
Please.
Can.
Yes.
But this way it'll have a context of why I'm showing you this. So Healthy and Fair Start, it's generally we call it a home visiting, but a parent support program. And so during the visits, we kind of have three components that we focus on, and this is under the Parents as Teachers curriculum. So one is the parent-child interaction. That's what I'm going to show you. And so let me just real quick, so if anybody wants to do it, they can see what we're going to need, and then I'll get back to that. So we're going to need 2 bottles with caps, some glue, some tape. I really like vinyl tape. It goes around the tops of the bottles to seal them real good. Something that you can put in one bottle that's quiet, and something you put in one bottle that's loud. So if people want to gather some stuff up, that's what you'll need. I'll come back to that in a second. So this parent-child interaction, it gives you activities for your kiddo at their age to help them move forward. During that section, we also check on child development. We do assessments, things like that. That's that parent-child interaction. The second part of our visit that we always include on each visit is the developmental centered parenting. And that is all those questions as parents that we have. Depending on the kid, depending on their age, it can be nutrition, development, discipline, health, all kinds of questions, like tantrums and, hitting and sleep, all those things. So, we can offer really great, well-researched information that can help parents make the best decisions for their kids. And so, and as parents, we're busy. So we don't always have time, yes, that information is all out there. It's not that a parent can't do it themselves. But a lot of times when you have a teething toddler or, someone who's not sleeping, you don't have time to go and find all that great information. So your parent educator can help you get that information, and then you can just read through it quickly and then be like, okay, I'm going to try this strategy. I'm going to try that strategy. So that's that part. And then the third part is the family, what we call family well-being. And that is helping families set goals and get connected to resources in the community so their family can be the best it can be. So those are those three sections. So to jump into just an idea of what the parent-child interaction, activity would look like, I'm going to make some shaker bottles. And this one under the curriculum is called the Loud and Soft. And so, the first bottle that you're going to take, and it can be, I do say the thicker plastic's better. Some of the water bottles are a little too thin, but any bottle that is cleaned out. And then we're going to just, on one of them, we're going to make this one loud. And so I have some little beads, but you could use rice, beans, popsicle sticks, anything that when you put it in here, it's going to make noise. If I can get these beads open. There we go. Okay, so we're going to just put those in our bottle and lift those down. And then what we want to do is for the cap, we want to make sure to glue these on and tape them on because we want to make sure to keep it safe. These are often choking hazards that we're going to be putting inside of here. And so we want to make sure that we don't do anything that's going to endanger our kiddo. So we're going to glue our cap on. We want to get that down good and tight. And then I mentioned, I like the vinyl tape. It has a little stretch to it, but really you could use masking tape or duct tape, whatever you have. And we're just going to simply kind of pull that around so it seals it.
I'm so glad you made the noisy one first.
Yes. and it is noisy. And so, and there's going to be a reason for that and why we're doing it. And then the second one, we're going to put in I have pom-poms, but families are so creative. I've had them use cotton balls. I've had them tear up a paper towel and put it inside of it. We all have something we can put in here, a yarn, you can cut it up, whatever, a little ribbon. It doesn't matter what it is. It's just that, so when you shake this one, it's not going to make a lot of noise. And so the reason behind a loud and a soft one, definitely we're learning about noises and they like to shake them. But I don't know about you, but I have lots of parents who tell me, my kid has one voice and it's an outside voice. And they won't ever use the quiet voice. Why won't they do this? Mm-hmm. Well, the answer is, have you ever taught them what is quiet, what is loud? Because if they don't know the concept, they can't follow the instruction.
Absolutely.
And so we work with them and we, as they shake the quiet one, we talk about that this one is quiet. And as we shake the loud one, we talk about this one's loud. And so we start at a young age and we teach them what is quiet, what is loud, so that as they get a little older and we want them to, use your quiet voice, they have a reference and they can learn this and they know what it is. So, they love to just watch the colors. We can count the colors. We can do all kinds of other learning activities with this, but it also really helps as a parent to be able to teach kids what is quiet, what is loud. So this would just be one activity that we would do on a visit. And again, we all have some plastic bottles around.
Oh yeah.
Even if we try to not use a lot of plastic, there's some around.
Still gonna have them.
And a little bit of tape, a little bit of glue, and something that's quiet, something loud. And so it's a great way. And kids love to play with these. I've literally had some of these that 2-3 years, after I've been working with the family, they still have the bottles around. They're like, they still are playing with those, so fun. They also just find them really fun. Yeah. So that's an idea of one of our activities. Do you have any questions about that?
Oh, how many parents have said Thank you. You
Yes,
know, we
yes,
assume things, right? And then until we really take a minute to think, well, why isn't this being successful? And then just some sort of basic thing like that, that is huge.
yeah.
I bet that that's such a gift. A couple of plastic bottles and some beads is a huge gift.
Yeah.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that. That's amazing. Very cool. That must be a great part of your job, like
Oh,
pulling together stuff like that.
yes, I love being able to do the activities and helping parents find those connections with the information. Um, there's a lot of well-meaning people in our lives that will give us maybe outdated information. And so having something that you can go to that is like, this is up to date, well-researched information.
Right.
And then, you can, as a parent, make that decision based on the information that, you have, and you can take, all the other advice too, and just kind of decide what's going to work best for you and your family.
Absolutely. And I think wherever babysitters are learning their skills, that's one. That should be like the first week of working with a new family. It's like, hey kids, this amazing activity. And imagine how that would set up that relationship for success as well.
Yes, it's true.
I love that. That is totally amazing. So, so community involvement, right? There's just no replacement. So much of that was taken away during COVID. We had to come up with new things, but luckily we might be looking at some opportunities, and I understand that this is actually pretty good timing for you all as well to tell us about how your volunteer opportunities are coming. But I want to hear all the ways that you would love support from the community, from people to events, volunteering, fundraisers, links to donate, all of the above.
And I really suggest going to our website, anybabycan.org, or giving us a call at 512-454-3743 and connecting. We always have all kinds of great opportunities to volunteer in a variety of ways. We've had people who simply write cards of encouragement to put along with maybe packages of food for families, making blankets for families. At some of our events, we have people that will come and help us with those events, more before the pandemic than currently. But even so, we did have some like distributions and things. And so some of those, with distancing, with masks, with safety, we've had those opportunities. And we're hoping to be able to return to more of those this fall. And we have a new volunteer coordinator too, so she's going to help kick that off and help us get all those opportunities. In the wintertime, we have the adoptive family, which helps many families who wouldn't be able to afford gifts for the holidays. They get connected with families, and it's such a blessing to the families to be able to get some support during that time. And so people can give financially, they can give time, they can give items. We get donations of diapers or baby clothes or baby items. And our families, we always have families in need. And so being able to connect families with those resources, which is part of, like I said, that family well-being, if we can have the resources we need, we can have, help our families do the best they can.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you have any statistics for us, kind of the numbers that you're taking care of?
I find it interesting that I was asking one of my other coworkers, and she was giving me the statistics that we've served since the pandemic started, 2,800 clients, which is a lot, but 51,000 virtual visits.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
We really just, you might have thought we would have had like a gap, to get things going, but no, I mean, like literally, like I said, the next day it was like, there was a couple phone call visits, but then it went straight to telehealth, virtual visits. And yeah, it's like, it was fairly amazing, because before that I had attended one Zoom meeting. I'd never had one. And it was like, I barely knew what it was. And then it was like, okay, now we know.
This is it.
And we do it all the time, and you don't even think anything of it. So, and even like as I get new families that participate, it used to be I'd have to be like, do you know how to get into Zoom? And it's like now everybody's like, oh yeah, I know how to do that.
Right. a learning curve, yet it was, I think since it was so critical, I think people were able to rise to the challenge pretty quickly.
And it was such a need, because that was a lot of isolation for families, especially with young children, to all of a sudden be stuck at home and couldn't go anywhere, especially, like I have some that have kiddos with special needs, a 2-year-old with special needs, stuck at home, when one of the best strategies for handling, their behaviors is going out and going to the park and stuff, and you can't, the parks were closed, everything was closed. So, the families were in very, desperate need of that support, even if it was just, somebody to talk through how am I going to do some activities in the house? How am I going to support my kiddos?
Right. Coming together, banding together, brainstorming, and just sometimes like a friendly ear.
Yeah.
Really big change for some, a big help for a lot of people. Jennifer in here said, I want to talk about the upcoming event on August 11th, a drive-through event at Any Baby Can, working with community partner Latched. Can you tell us a bit about that?
I did hear about this the other day. I only know a little bit about that.
You don't have to know every detail. It's okay. It's okay.
I know that they said that we're going to have it at the office, and it's a partner where they're going to be giving out different needed supplies, and families can sign up, and then they will be able to come and drive through. They'll be able to just put the items in the car for them, and be able to get that support they need in a very quick and efficient way. So yeah, I know they had mentioned that we're going to be having that here coming up.
There's so many, we could talk for an hour, I think, about all the ways that you are supporting families through Any Baby Can. No doubt, seasonally and everything. Let's see, is there anything that I haven't asked you yet that you would love to share? Maybe a sweet story about a success for a particular family, or just some meaningful moment?
I think that with each family, it is really just so meaningful, because every family has different needs, and being able to help each of them in their own way, and to be able to see families, usually we work with them for about 2 years, and to see how they grow and go through the program, and are just so successful moving forward. And and some of our families decide to participate in community kind of outreach and support for either our program or other programs. And so there's really a kind of a growth that happens both at Any Baby Can and with our the Parents as Teachers curriculum nationwide or across the world. We see that this kind of programming really supports families into not only helping that child in that moment, but being an advocate in the community, being an advocate in the larger our society.
Absolutely. Oh gosh, thank you so much for putting together that activity to show us today. That was really special. I love that. Kind of makes me want to go to the craft store. Here's my plug for Austin Creative Reuse, because you can get little noisy and soft things that are needing a second home, and make lots and lots of your noisy and soft things. Yeah, gosh, it fills my heart to hear directly from the impact that you all are having out there. And I'm hoping that someone watching today sees something they need to hear. Remember that this interview is public, and you can share it. Everybody watching can share it to their personal site, and that gives more eyeballs for Any Baby Can. Please go like and share their social media, and get that moving out there, because clearly the more families we can impact during this time, the better things are going to happen, again, coming through this super tough time that we've had. So I want to thank you, Cora, for your time today and the preparation time that you spent getting ready for this. It means so much to me. And
Thank you for
absolutely hope we get to connect again soon.
Awesome.
And everyone watching, please support your area nonprofits, especially Any Baby Can today, with what they have bringing to keep families thriving. So Well, thanks again. This is the nonprofit shout out interview. I have an interview every week, and I'm supposed to know what next week is. And we get to this point in the interview where I've forgotten to check. So just know that there will be another one next week. I need more systems. Okay. But anyway, you just know. And there's a YouTube channel where you can go and watch previous ones. I've been doing this for over a year now, and there's quite an amazing group of nonprofits out there, like working super hard. So anyway, thanks again for your time. And have a fantastic day. Thanks for watching, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you.